All right. Welcome, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for being here. Today, we are going to be talking about the role of spirituality in psychotherapy. Before we get into the topic, our speaker has given some few instructions, and if possible, you could go through them because it would kind of enhance the experience that you would have from this session. Our speaker asked if you could be in a quiet place where there is less disturbance or if less noise, and if possible, be on earphones, which will give you a better experience for the meditation session that is there at the end. So this session is organized by All Life Counseling. All Life Counseling is an online therapy counseling service where we provide individual therapy, counseling, career counseling, sexual health, and couples counseling. It basically is a very small team coexisting of two of us. That's me, Kelly. I'm a psychotherapist, and Nishiganda, who's also present here. And she is a psychologist. So we also have an Instagram page. We also have an Instagram page that and a YouTube page where we post videos and posts about psychology, the myths, facts, and even videos to do with mental health that would help anyone who watches it, obviously. The handle names are All Life Counseling, just that. So you can go follow if you would like to do so. And that's where our third member comes in, who helps us with the technical stuff and the editing and the shooting. Now, for today's session, we have Sumedha More. Sumedha More is a psychologist and NLP coach, which is a neuro linguistic programming coach. She has conducted multiple workshops in NLP and mindfulness. She has her own page on Instagram, just like us, which is Psychology of Being. So make sure you go check that out, and make sure you go and follow that page if possible. She likes to write, in her page, she likes to write about psycho-spiritual awareness, and she is just a soul trying on a journey to find herself and just be the best that she can be. So we would like to welcome Sumedha More.
Hello everyone. Am I visible and audible?
Yes.
Lovely to meet you all, and thank you for the overwhelming response. And I'm looking forward to engaging you all in this session, and I hope you can make the best out of it and have a very soulful experience, I can say. So welcome to the session and looking forward. Thanks for joining in. Yes, over to you, Kelly.
Right. So welcome, Sumedha. Thanks for being here. Before we begin, the topic for today is, like I said, the role of spirituality in psychotherapy. So let's first, before we go on to the spirituality part of this topic, let's talk a little about psychotherapy. Nishi, if you would like to kick us off on what is psychotherapy.
Okay, so psychotherapy is basically a talk therapy, and it is also known as a collaborative treatment or a therapy. So collaborative basically means the client and the therapist work together in order to help the client grow with effective habits. Also, the therapist helps or provides the client in about the awareness about oneself in terms with thoughts and behaviors. The problems can range from a relationship issue or a work issue, or it can be like something very severe, which is the mental health problems like depression or schizophrenia, and to that extent. So there are a lot of issues that the therapists look up on the client's problems. There are certain therapies that are used. Now, I can just name like two because there are like many. So two main important ones I feel that is cognitive behavioral therapy, which means cognitive is all related to thoughts, and behaviors, as said, it's related to behaviors. So it's where the therapists help the client in developing coping skills for thoughts and behavior problems. The second one, that is the interpersonal therapy. So this focuses more on the behaviors and the interactions with the client's family, and relationship with the client and the family and with friends. So it's these are the two ones that the client focuses mainly on. Various methods, like it's not related only to one client, it's not the individual therapy. There are other ways also, such as group therapy, or there's marital, which is couple therapy, and there's family. So this is a gist about what psychotherapy is. Kelly?
Thank you, Nishi, for explaining to us what psychotherapy is. Sumedha, do you want to add? Why don't we just kick off with the whole role of spirit? Tell us what spirituality is and how we integrate it, or we can integrate it in psychotherapy.
Yes, definitely. Let's start with the session. So, thank you, Nishi, for the background information on psychotherapy. And I hope I'm audible to everyone. You can just tell me on the chat box if I'm not audible or if I'm not visible. All right? Yes, thank you. Thank you for the response. So as Nishi mentioned, psychotherapy is basically verbal therapy, and there are a lot of psychotherapies, and some of the prominent ones are CBT, that is cognitive behavioral therapy. Then there is REBT, rational emotive behavioral therapy, and there are many others. So let's talk about CBT and what it comprises of before we kick off to the spiritual session. So, CBT, and the main principle of CBT is that your cognition, that is, your thoughts, if they are self defeating, that is, if they are negative, they lead to negative emotions, that is, self defeating emotions, and ultimately they lead to self defeating actions. All right. So, for example, say if a person has lost their job, that is an event that has taken place. And the self-defeating thought that arises from this situation is that I'm worthless, I'm not good enough. All right. Now, that self-defeating thought ultimately leads to self-defeating emotions, that is worthlessness, that is probably shame. All right. Now, this in turn leads to a self defeating behavior, which could be being rude to people, being angry at people, or shutting yourself out from your friends and your family. So, this is how it is reflected in your behavior. Now, what CBT does is it works at this primary thought that has arisen from the challenging experience. So, in this example, the primary thought is that I'm worthless. Also, I would like to add that these primary thoughts are always irrational, or it is an assumption. It is never rational, and it is not the truth. The person loses a sense of reality, truth, because obviously it is difficult to think clearly at that point of time, but this is what usually happens. So in CBT, you replace the self-defeating thought with an alternative thought. Mind you, you don't replace the negative thought with a positive thought. Like, you can't say, oh, you're not worthless. That's not going to help your client. you can replace it with an alternative thought, which is a reality, which is a fact, and which is not an assumption. You can say, or the person can think, no, I'm not worthless, because even though I have lost my job, I'm still trying, I'm still hopeful, and I'm applying for new jobs, and something new and better can come up with me because I am worth it. This is the alternative thought that in CBT would be introduced. So now I would like to now move on to the spiritual session, the spiritual segment, and we will see how a perspective of spirituality can be fruitful therapeutically. All right. So spirituality can mean different things to different people. It's not one definition fits all. For one person, it could have a different meaning. For another person, it could have a different meaning. Also, your religious faith plays a huge role in your spiritual perspectives, in your spiritual practices. But let me tell you, religion is not to be confused with spirituality. Religion is a totally different thing, and spirituality is totally a different thing. So let me explain how they are two different terms. So religion is a set of practices that has been proposed by that particular religion in order to express devotion to that entity or that god of that particular religion. So, for example, there's puja in Hinduism. There is lighting the candle in Christianity. In Islam, you have to pray multiple times a day. So, there are different practices and different rules and regulations in many religions. How this is different, how religion is different from spirituality is, now this higher power that we pray to in the religion, it is said that we are an extension of this higher power. We are a part of it. Say, for example, if the higher power is a wave, is an ocean, we are a wave of that ocean. And spirituality is a relationship with this higher power that you're praying to. Your relationship, your personal relationship with it. So inadvertently, since you are an extension of this higher power, it is a relationship with your own self. Because, I mean, in simple terms, it is quite easier to pray and take care of, be kind to, and love a part of God that is the closest to you, right? And which is yourself. You are the closest to yourself than any other element around you, be it a temple, church, or any other person that you love. And this is how your relationship with the higher power is established, through yourself, through you filling up your own cup first before pouring into the cup of another. You can't pour from an empty cup. You need to first love yourself, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself in just the same way that you would take care of another. Respect yourself in just the same way that you would respect your God. So this is how spirituality for me is different from religion. Spirituality is a very personal and it is more of a relationship with yourself and the higher power. All right. So now if you ask me, what is the purpose of life? I mean, this is a very general thing that is discussed, and even philosophically, there are a lot of debates. There are a lot of principles that are discussed, like what is the purpose of life? For me, it is something very simple. It's not very complex. It's just growing through learning, growing through experiences. There is nothing more elaborate to it. And while doing that, you learn and you grow along with doing something you love, doing things that are meaningful to you, that give you a sense of purpose. Now, these experiences by the laws of nature, are not always going to be positive. There are going to be negative experiences, there are going to be positive experiences as well. And the cause for suffering is what is the idea that is so hardwired in us from our childhood. It is, we are conditioned with believing this idea that you are not supposed to be sad, you are not supposed to be crying, you're not supposed to be feeling angry. When a child is crying, you tell them, oh, don't cry. Or when you see someone being sad, the antidote to sadness is happiness. So don't be sad, okay, be happy, it's okay, be cheerful. That's what we have grown up listening to. And that's what we are conditioned to believe, that no, sadness is something wrong. Crying is something wrong, right? So now what happens is when someone cries and their pent up emotions are finally transmuted into tears, that is transmuted into something physical, such as tears. Now, that's how strong your emotions are. They get converted into something physical. That itself says how powerful it is, how powerful these emotions are, and how if you suppress them, they can be converted into something physical. Now, tears is just something very temporary and very immediate. It could also be converted into chronic diseases, chronic ailments like BP and diabetes, and the list goes on. So if we talk about these emotions being so natural to a human experience, when we are telling someone not to cry, not to be sad, you're telling them to not be human. That's what you're saying indirectly. So now you get what I'm trying to say. That is why it's important to address these emotions, even if there is someone close to you who's going through a challenging time. Maybe just hear them out, because it's not our place to tell someone what to feel. All right. So now I would also like to add that these emotions are, yeah, they are obviously not there for no reason. They are serving a purpose. And I would like to give them the analogy of messengers. They are like these little messengers that are coming with some information. They are propelling you towards making a better choice because of the discomfort they cause. Now, you're not happy with your job, you're not happy, you are not satisfied with it. That dissatisfaction is telling you that maybe you need to do something else. Maybe shift some elements in your existing job, or try to look for another one. If that emotion didn't exist, of that emotion of dissatisfaction, of unhappiness, you wouldn't be driven towards any valuable action. So this is why it is necessary to address our emotions, to acknowledge them, rather than always having the constant need to eliminate them. No, I'm not supposed to feel sad. No, I'm not supposed to feel guilty. I'm not supposed to feel shame. Just address them. So the next time you feel a negative emotions, I would like you to ask what that information, what purpose that emotion is trying to serve. Why is it there? What is it driving you towards? How can you change your situation? And when you ask that, that is when the emotion will leave by itself. Otherwise, it's just going to persist until the situation doesn't get fixed. All right. So yes, that's about how we can be more accepting of all our emotions, of all the colors of rainbow that we are born with. Okay. So now that we have established that life is present in duality, meaning, the presence, how natural it is for the presence of negative and positive to be there. Light, darkness, positive, negative, happiness, sadness, positive, negative. Yeah, we have established that. So what if I tell you that there are no bad experiences? just hear me out. There are no bad experiences. There are only lessons, or there are growth opportunities. Why I'm saying this is, now think of a time when you faced a challenging situation and you really came out being the best version of yourself. Maybe not immediately, it may have taken time. But now, when you think back to that challenging situation, that very that negative experience, it did something good, it served a purpose. So now I have a question to the audience members. Can one of you just share an experience that turned out to be a blessing in disguise later? Maybe not immediately, but maybe later, that you learned later of it. Anyone would like to share an experience? You can put the message in the chat and we can unmute you. Anyone?
There doesn't seem to be anyone, Sumedha. It's all right.
Okay.
We have a quiet audience who would want to just watch. That's all right.
Okay.
So I think I can come up with something where there's just this one instance, I think, and it probably was at the crucial moment in time where we had to apply for our for universities to do our masters and things like that. And I decided, very smart, to apply to just one university. And so I decided to apply to Christ University in Bangalore. And that was the only university I applied to. No fallback, no, nothing to, no second choice, nothing like that. And we went for our interview, we did everything, and unfortunately, I did not get selected. So that was the end, basically. No other university of choice. And the blessing in disguise, how was it a blessing? Could be, if I had gone to Christ, I wouldn't have gotten the experience and the education I did get for not going into Christ, and instead coming back home, thinking what to do, Googling stuff, finding an advert, applying to your university in London, and then going to London, finally getting the experience there, getting an education from there. And now I'm so thankful that I did not get into Christ, because if I did, I wouldn't have gotten a chance to go to London. I would have been in Christ for 2 years. So that's mine.
Wow. Okay. I'm so happy for you for not getting into Christ. So yeah, that's how things work out. I mean, there's one closed door. I mean, it's meant to close for some reason, and there is another meant to open. You're supposed to look in that direction. That is why this door has closed. Actually, even I have a similar experience like Kelly. So I was in 11th and 12th. I chose to study science because I got good marks in 10th standard, and because all the smart kids are supposed to take science, so I was like, no, I will do science. And there I was struggling to understand the mathematics and the physics and the chemistry, which was just bouncing off my head. And during the board exams, I had just left it to the universe, to God. Nothing was going in my head, and there was nothing else I could do. And I had made the smart decision to again choose science in 11th, where in 12th, I mean, where I could have had the option to switch to arts or to something else. But I didn't have the awareness at that time about what could be a better choice for me, or what could possibly add more value, be more meaningful for me. So there I was. I answered my 12th standard boards and struggling to pass. And there was this day when my board results were supposed to arrive, and me, my sister, and my mother, we are sitting in front of the computer, waiting for the results page to load on the internet. And my mother and my sister, they just have their fingers crossed in their minds, of course, because they don't want me to feel hurt by how, they have had to place their faith in God, but not me. So if the situation is so tense and we are all just waiting, and my dad, he chooses to sit in the hall, totally pretending to not be affected by the tension and the situation, pretending to be chill, and but still I'm sure he was worried a lot. So maybe he chose to sit away from the computer in the hall reading a newspaper. And finally the results page loads. All I am interested to see that whether I have passed or not. And I jumped at the sight of me passing, and I was just so happy that I have made it through 12th standard science board exam. And that was a huge thing for me. But by then I had already decided that I will take arts. I don't know what clicked in me, what thought ran into my head that I should take arts. And I was for a long time disturbed by the sense of failure, and which had affected my self-esteem, my sense of self-worth, my confidence, everything. It had shattered me completely, because that's not someone who I was used to being. Then, yes, we went on with arts. I chose psychology at the end, and I did my master's in psychology. And now here I am taking this webinar, and I'm doing something that's so much meaningful for me. I'm serving the purpose of my existence, and I'm so very happy. So I'm actually grateful to that failure. Now when I look back to it, I can actually laugh and I can crack jokes about it. And all that I'm filled with is a sense of gratitude for that failure that eventually led me in this direction. And now here I am sitting in front of you all. So yes, that is my experience. And that is how it turned out for me as a blessing in disguise. Anyone else would like to share an experience? Yes, guys, anything that you can think of. Doesn't have to be something huge. It could be something small, like, something very momentary. All right, maybe we can talk about it later when you have thought of something to share. All right, so this is how your challenging experiences are actually lessons, are actually growth opportunities. If you lose a job, you're probably needed to work more on your skills, and you probably need to work more towards your personal growth. And maybe that wasn't possible in that job, so you were directed towards this failure and eventually a great opportunity. Now, so I would like to say that the next time you're faced with a challenging situation, before you throw yourself into the spiral of defeating thought, self-defeating emotion, self-defeating behavior, before you choose to put yourself in that cycle, I would like it, it would be nicer if you can take a moment to just pause and ask yourself, what is this situation trying to teach me? What is the lesson that I'm supposed to learn over here? So by asking this question, you're saving yourself a huge cycle of those irrational thoughts, those assumptuous thoughts that lead to self-sabotage or maybe any kind of negative experience. I'm not saying you're completely going to save yourself from all kinds of negative emotions. No, that would be a very unrealistic expectation to have. Of course, you will feel some negative things. But as I mentioned earlier, those negative experience, those emotions are driving you, they're causing a discomfort, so that you do something about it, so that you change your life, so that you change your situation, and rather not dwell in the same unfulfilling, meaningless situation. All right. So when you ask the right questions, I believe, and my experiences say that the answers do come. Sometimes you need to have the patience, and you just need to give it some time. Maybe it will take a very long time. You can't put a duration on it. Okay, within 6 months I should get an answer, maybe in 1 year my life should get better. No, life has its own way of throwing in surprises. So wait for it, wait for the times to change, right? Now, having spoken about all these things, I understand that it is difficult to just have that pause during a challenging situation and have that moment for yourself where you think about, okay, what is the lesson here? Okay, what is this trying to teach me? We are not taught to do that from our childhood. So learning that now, I understand, can be challenging. And just getting over your negative emotions or just getting over things, it's not easy. You just don't get over something. You need to really put in the effort and work on yourself. Now, this work, through my experience, what I've seen is a lot to do with your self awareness, with how much you are present in the moment right now. And you're better able to have the clarity to ask yourself what is the lesson when you are aware in the moment, when you are aware enough to think of that question and ask it. So, how does this awareness come? It is something you can practice and something you can develop using mindfulness. A lot of you must already be knowing what mindfulness is. So I'll briefly explain what mindfulness is. It is just a practice that is as simple as being in the moment, right here, right now, not in the future, not in the past. You're not brooding over what happened in the past and then getting all worked up, nor are you getting anxious about the future, thinking about what might go wrong. In this moment, right now, you are safe. There's nothing going wrong with you in your life right now. You're safe, and this is the moment I need to be in, rather than not being present in a part of life that has not even happened or that has already happened in the past, right? So that is what mindfulness is about. And practicing mindfulness just helps you take that pause, as I said, before making a choice. And it just really helps you be at peace with yourself and your emotions. You're able to detach from your thoughts, and you're able to just be an observer to them and not identify with them, because not all our thoughts come from within us. We are being conditioned from years. Ever since we were born, we have been continuously conditioned by our environment, by our parents, by the society, by what we read, by what we watch on TV. We have learned all these behaviors. So it will take just as much time, or not just as much time, it will take quite a lot of time to observe these patterns that you have learned, that are not serving you anymore, that are not serving your growth anymore, and then unlearn them. You all must have read the quote somewhere: life is a lot about, okay, I don't remember the quote, excuse me, but to tell you, it is about unlearning rather than learning. Of course, learning does happen, but unlearning our self-sabotaging patterns, the conditioning that has been unhealthy for us, being aware of that conditioning, and then eventually changing it, unlearning it, unlearning those behaviors is what helps you. It is a result if you practice mindfulness. Now, this is a practice that won't show immediate results. You need to be just as patient with yourself, because we didn't learn how to talk just when we were born, right? We didn't learn Hindi, English, Marathi, Konkani, all these languages just when we were born. We learned a word, maybe a syllable first, ma, ta, ba, just saying these things, and then we learned a word, and then we learned a sentence, and then the entire language. Well, there are some words we still don't know, but yeah. And then maybe if you interact with people who speak another language, you learn things from them. That took time, right? That took some effort, that took some time. Similarly, even practices that contribute to a good mental health, to well-being, take time, and it's not something to be given up on just because you can't get it right in the first go or the second go, or multiple attempts for that matter. Just because you couldn't say a word in English when you were 4, you didn't say, okay, I give up on English entirely as a language and I'm not going to learn it anymore. We didn't say that, right? So it applies to everything else that we are trying to learn, that is trying to contribute to our growth. So don't give up. Even if you don't get it right, even if you make a mistake, even if you're not able to manage your emotions, it's fine. It's not a hard and fast rule. It's okay. Get back up, try again another day. And if it doesn't happen that day, do it again, but don't give up, because that giving up means you're giving up on yourself. And even if one day you feel like giving up, maybe that's okay too. You know, maybe that day you're just supposed to rest. You're just supposed to just take a nap and maybe try another day. All right. So that is how, that is what is mindfulness about. And we will be doing a meditation at the end of the session to give you an idea of what mindfulness is and how relaxing it is. So yes, we are done with this session, and I hope you all learned something, and I hope I was able to add some value to your day, to your life maybe. And thank you all for joining. And yes, now Kelly, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sumedha. That was amazing. That was truly amazing. I think more than it just being a webinar session where you present something, it turned out to be very therapeutic. I think a lot of people learned from it and probably are going to reassess their lives and are going to think twice about how they're going through their hard times and maybe see the positivity in that, start learning about how to love themselves and how to find the things that they're good at, attributes about themselves that they are not aware of, just finding self-awareness, like how you said. Coming to spirituality in psychotherapy, we have a few minutes before you can start with the meditation. So I was wondering, how can you integrate spirituality in psychotherapy? I know you said that CBT has self-defeating thoughts, which move on to self-defeating emotions, which then move on to self-defeating behaviors. And if we take spirituality, it is more, all these self-defeating thoughts. Spirituality teaches us that we should not take these thoughts to be defeating, and we should basically take it as an encouragement to work harder or to see the positivity in it. So how do we integrate it in psychotherapy if we want to?
All right. How do we integrate it? First of all, you need to take the spiritual beliefs, the religious beliefs of your client into consideration. If they are an atheist, if they do not believe in any kind of a higher power. They do not believe in religion. They do not believe in God. Maybe this perspective may not be helpful, may not serve in that particular situation. So that is one thing that you need to remember. You need to take your client's beliefs into consideration. And even when, say, the client does believe in something and they are faced with a challenging situation, like I said, you need to make them understand how they are being conditioned to think that life is always supposed to be positive, and come up with some better coping mechanisms if they have negative behaviors. If and these behaviors are a symptom, they are not the problem. So you need to go to the symptom and where it arises from. You need to sometimes go back in the childhood and see whether their beliefs are something they picked up from a person, from, say, anyone in their environment. And spirituality, the best practice I feel to bring awareness is meditation. Now, of course, I understand you can't prescribe meditation to all your clients, but that brings a sense of awareness, I feel. And if the client is ready for it, bringing these spiritual practices like meditation, spiritual practices these are some practices that are brought about by yoga, right? So inculcating these could be helpful, but yes, you need to see how one situation differs from the other. One rule cannot apply all. One rule cannot apply to all the patients. So yes, that's how spirituality could be helpful.
All right. You said, oh, we have a question. We have a question from Scandal Fernandez. His question is, wouldn't an integration of spirituality with psychotherapy still work for an atheist if their sense of spirituality does not involve God? Sumedha, you need to unmute yourself. Sorry.
Yes, Candle, to answer your question, spirituality will not most definitely. I wouldn't want to generalize situation or, um, yeah. So it will help a person who is an atheist, because atheism means they don't believe in God, but their idea of higher power could be something else. Their idea of peace and connection with their own self and connection with the idea of self-love and self-esteem and self-awareness could still be there in a person even if they don't believe in God. So the spiritual concept of life being a series of lessons, the bad experiences being growth opportunities, can still be a principle that is acceptable to an atheist. They will still have that need for growth even if they don't believe in God. So yes, spirituality can help people who don't believe in God. Thank you, Scandal, for the question, and thank you, everyone. I can see a lot of messages, a lot of compliments. Thank you so much, everyone. Lovely to see that. Yes.
If I could just slightly add to what Sumedha said, basically understanding their beliefs, their core beliefs. So as a psychotherapist, before we start a session, what we generally do is we first formulate, we get every information that we can about this person, this client. We find out their childhood, how their relationship is with their parents, how their relationship is with society, how their relationship is with your friends. And we put that all together, we make a whole report, we talk to them, and then we find out what their values are. And values are not such as, being honest and things like that. Values are like ideals, things they believe in, something that, they believe strongly in. And then we find their core belief. the belief that basically drives their personality, that makes them who they are. So not every time, again, like how Sumedha said, do not mistake spirituality for religion. So not every time someone might be knowledgeable enough to know that spirituality is not religion, and I think, or is not completely to do with your belief in a higher power. So I think if we give them that education or that knowledge when they come into a session and explain to them what it is, and if they are open to it, and if their core belief also allows you to tap into and to use spirituality, I think it can be used. It seems like a difficult thing to do, because as a therapist, I know that I would have to read up on it a lot. I would have to understand it a lot. I would have to practice it before making others practice it. Because if I don't get a better understanding of it myself, I don't think I would be able to try or make someone else understand this thing. So thank you so much, Scandal, for that question. I think it was a very amazing question that we didn't think about, and it was really good. So just a final question before we move on, or more than a question. I think it's just a comment. You said that we should first kind of build a relationship with ourselves and then build a relationship with the higher power. Do you think that, in today's society, or maybe in our culture, it is something different where, or it's kind of inverted, where we are more, when something happens, we are more, you need to pray, or your belief in God needs to be strengthened. Your faith is probably wavering. Do you think that is what it is? Because I've heard it a lot. Like when things go bad, they're like, pray. You don't really look at yourself. You don't really see the relationship you have within you, but directly go on to try to have a better relationship with a higher power.
Kelly, I'm so sorry. Maybe there was a connection glitch. I didn't get your question. Can you please repeat it?
So what I wanted to say is, before having a connection with yourself, we tend to want to have a connection with a higher power, and that is told to us more often than not by our parents, or by society, that if something goes bad, or if you're having a hard time, you need to have more faith in God. You need to strengthen your relationship with God. You need to pray more. You need to you need to reassess your relationship. Do you think we're doing it because you said first relationship with yourself and then relationship with God? So do you think we're kind of flipping the scales a little bit and doing it the opposite way?
Doing it the opposite way, as in first the relationship with God and then the relationship with ourselves. Is that what you mean to ask by opposite way?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. See, when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to practicing your devotion to a certain faith, as long as you're not breaking any religious rules that you're meant to follow, I feel there shouldn't be any hard and fast rule that, no, I should do this first and then, I should do that. Maybe the practicing your faith in the higher power and the God and loving yourself at the same time could go hand in hand. It doesn't have to be, those two events don't have to be exclusive of each other. But the idea is, while expressing your devotion to a higher power, are you hurting yourself in any way? Are you denying yourself your reality, your truth in any way? Or are you hurting another human being? That is something you need to take into consideration. And the hurt that we cause to ourselves unknowingly a lot of times is something that we are not aware of. That's something we are not taught as a result of just concentrating externally on the external part. It could be a result of conditioning, that is, not practicing self-love. So yes, both of them can go hand in hand, but we need to take care of ourselves and our loved ones, which is the highest priority. As I mentioned earlier, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot perform acts of kindness that religion tells you to do on others unless you are kind to yourself. That is when you know the true definition of kindness. So yes, I hope that answered your question, Kelly.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. We have time for a few more questions. So if anyone wants to ask any question, please feel free to do so.
I see a lot of compliments. Thank you so much.
We have a question for you, Sumedha. It is by Emmy Alex.
Emmy,
It
yeah.
is what is the true definition of kindness?
What is the true definition of kindness? Kindness should come from a place of love, I feel. It should not come from a place of compulsion that, no, you're supposed to be kind. No, you're supposed to be giving and be generous and do this and do that. I think if you really love something, it will come about automatically. You wouldn't have to force yourself to do it. So kindness is something, I would say, is an act that comes from a place of love, which comes from a place of love for yourself, the love that you have in your soul and your heart. So any act that you perform from a place of love is kindness, according to me. Thank you, Emmy, for the question. We have Jovi who has asked a question: How is spiritually focused therapy different from traditional psychotherapy? Yes, traditional psychotherapy. It talks about, now how we discussed the example of the person losing the job and them feeling worthless, and how that leads to negative emotions and negative behavior, right? So what is done in CBT is an alternative thought is introduced, an alternative thought which is very much real. And this thought, when the person truly starts believing it and their actions and their thoughts are they are in alignment with each other, that's when the therapy starts working, right? Along with a lot of efforts put forth by the client, of course. And spiritually focused psychotherapy, it's not really a term, spiritually focused psychotherapy. It is just something we are discussing and how spirituality could help. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we could tell the client based on the situation how this is meant to be taken as a lesson, and how the thoughts they have about not about their resistance towards feeling something negative is something that needs to be addressed. Acceptance is when healing comes in, and resistance is mostly there because of the idea that we are not supposed to have negative emotions or negative experiences. So creating a sense of acceptance is very much important. And these spirituality, in a way that, some spiritual tools like meditation, or maybe trying to strengthen their faith in the higher power, if they have faith in a higher power, or strengthening their relationship with themselves, is how the spiritual perspective could help in psychotherapy. I hope that answered your question.
If I could just add on to what
Kelly, your voice isn't very clear. Yeah, now I can hear.
Right. If I could just add on to what Sumedha said regarding spiritually focused psychotherapy, and to answer your question, basically in spiritually focused psychotherapy, there are very few people who use it because, like I said again, you need or how to use spirituality in psychotherapy. And you need to understand the whole, the whole aspect and the whole concept of spirituality. So when you use it in psychotherapy, you basically focus on the whole person. That is, you use even psychodynamic approaches where you focus on sexuality and psychotherapy and spirituality. Sorry, you focus on just peace, loving. That's the emphasis: peace, love, fulfillment. And these are the emphasis that is given to spiritually focused psychotherapy. Whereas in traditional psychotherapy, we just focus on the issues. The client comes in, we ask them what the issue is, we talk to them. It's mostly talk therapy. We talk to them, we get our information that they could give us, we help them. We don't really give them advice. We just help them find their way into doing how, or just answering the questions that they have. So yeah, I think that is what traditional. I don't know if I answered or if Sumedha answered your question, but let us know. But to my knowledge, that is what it is, and that's what the difference is. Thank you for the question, Jovi. The next question we have is, let's kind of club them because they both focus on emotions. The first question is, how do we actually address these negative emotions with the help of spirituality? And the second one is, does spirituality have effect on emotions on a person?
Yes. How do we actually address these negative emotions with the help of spirituality? Thank you, Feola, for the question. How do we address these negative emotions? The addressing of emotion doesn't really need to have a spiritual perspective to it. It's just as real as it can get. You need to be aware that you are experiencing a negative emotion and you are experiencing something that you're not comfortable with. And that self-awareness can come through practicing being in the present moment, and by the knowledge that thoughts don't necessarily come from us, and thoughts are something that are detached from us. You can just practice yourself being at a distance from your thoughts and just let them pass by. They're going to come and they're going to go. They are like balloons. They're just going to go with the wind. So trying not to identify with your thoughts, negative thoughts a lot, which are almost always irrational and assumptuous, and really also being aware of the physiological changes that you feel in your body. When you feel sad or when you feel guilty, maybe there is a discomforting feeling, maybe in your chest, maybe in your stomach. So you need to really address it. Maybe tell yourself that you're safe in this situation right now. And whatever that emotion is, again, try to ask it, why is it there? What purpose is it serving? Where is it coming from? And that is a way through which you could address your negative emotions. Also, Priya, your question is, does spirituality have effect on emotions of the person? Yes, definitely. It does have an effect on the emotion of the person. Since it offers you peace, it does have an effect. So Vinita has a question, when can spirituality be used in psychotherapy? Vinita, I'm sorry, that's a very vague question. When can it be used in psychotherapy is totally dependent on the client and at what stage of therapy they are in. And as we discussed earlier, what are their beliefs? What are their behaviors? Where have they learned those behaviors from? As Kelly explained very beautifully. So there is no really a fixed time when you can use spirituality. It is something that can go hand in hand with the psychotherapeutic tool that you're using. And psychotherapy is it's not something that it's not one therapy that you use individually. You can use multiple therapies at the same time in combination. There is no rule that only this therapy needs to be used. So it can be used in combinations as it suits the situation. And yes, Vinita, I hope I answered your question, though I found it a bit vague, but I tried to do my best. I hope I have answered it. Thank you. Thank you for the question, though.
Yeah. I think
Hi,
what Vinita
Sumedha.
was trying to say is sorry.
Yeah, you can say. After that, I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I think what Vinita was trying to say was how, like, at what point or when do we decide to use spirituality? How do we decide to use spirituality, or what makes us use? And I think that is a question when you are in the session with a client, and you go through maybe 2 or 3 sessions, 2 or 3 sittings, and then you kind of get a feel of the client, you understand the client, and then what would work with the client. Yes, it might seem very unsure to say this, but it is true that therapy is usually trial and error, where the client tries different ways and sees what works best for them. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Now, there was a hello. Hello.
Yes, please.
Can I talk?
Yes, sure.
Yes.
Who is this?
I'm Rashmita. Hi, Sumedha. So there was a question like how negative emotions will help, like with the help of spirituality, how emotions are like how emotions can be changed, or how does it affect on emotions. So like I practice spirituality personally, so I was interested for this session. So from my experience, I would like to say that spirituality is not only about beliefs, it is about a way of life, and the on daily basis how you live, and how what you eat, and how you think. And like spirituality is the combination of all of it. And when you practice especially meditation, while practicing meditation through like and when you include spirituality in your meditation, then your all the body hormones and all the body functions are also affected. And that's how our emotions are slowly starts changing from negative to positive. Because like there you must have heard like positive vibe, negative vibe. And when we are practicing spirituality, all the negative vibes through our emotions and hormones which are present in our body are converted into a positive, like it are they are like they start moving towards a positive way, like positive, like positivity comes in, like it is exchanged with positivity, I can say in simple words. That's what I wanted to say.
Yes, Rashmita, thank you so much for adding your comment. And yes, that does make sense. That is something very valuable that we need to know. And thank you so much for adding that. And now we have another question, and let's keep this the last question for the session since we are running out of time. We have a question by Rohan. After one becomes aware of their negative emotions and accept them, how does healing actually start? Okay. So Rohan, to answer your question, when you accept your negative emotions, you are acknowledging their presence. Now, emotions are a guest, like I'm giving you an analogy here. It is a guest that maybe you don't want in your house. And now they are there, you acknowledge their presence. And now you need to give it time to leave it. You need to give the guest time to leave on their own. The more you resist, the more you're going to create tension, right? So that is how acceptance works. And if you accept the negative emotion, you are just clearing space. After you've accepted it, okay, you have addressed it. Now you can put it in the background. And now you're making space for something new to occur, for something new to come in your life. You have the mental space to be open to new things happening to you, as opposed to the situation when you're sitting with your emotions, you're not accepting them. So that's how acceptance eventually leads to clearing up of space, so that there is place for something new to come in your life. And that is how eventually healing takes place, because you have new things to look forward to now. So I hope I have asked your question, answered your question satisfactorily. And thank you so much for the question, Rohan.
Yeah, I think, Sumedha, now maybe you can prepare for your meditation session or segment. If Nishi could unmute herself, and then we could discuss a little bit of what has happened during this session.
Yes. Okay.
Hi, Nishi. Right, so Sumedha spoke a lot, and it has been very insightful, and this has been actually very therapeutic. Thank you, everybody. Firstly, I want to acknowledge and I want to appreciate everyone who has taken part, who has stayed till the end, and of course, who has been very, very responsive. This is beautiful. This is, in fact, just so that it's very overwhelming, because this is, in fact, our very first webinar that we have organized. So thank you very much for your support. And thank you for all the questions. They were wonderful questions, and they're amazing questions that even we probably couldn't think of at all. So thank you. Just to come back, Sumedha spoke about CBT, which I think there are three highlights of this whole session that she spoke about. Starting from the beginning, it was CBT. She said CBT focuses on, for CBT focuses on the model, the three-way model, where you go thoughts, which lead to self-defeating emotions, which then lead to self-defeating behaviors, right?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Mm-hmm. And later on, a very beautiful way of putting how emotions are messengers. Someone wouldn't think that they are. So putting in that emotions are messengers, propelling us to make a choice that, to become better, to make a better choice, to look at something that is different and maybe more fulfilling, just by giving us a little discomfort from that emotion, which is funny because you don't usually, if you just suddenly think about it, you don't equate discomfort with a better choice. You probably equate it with, okay, let me now take a nap.
Yes.
But yeah, and finally, towards the end, she speaks about how understanding what reality is, how being aware of reality, aware of what things are, what you're going through, and you practice and you develop. You can be aware by doing so through mindfulness. And she's explained beautifully what mindfulness is. And I think now the meditation session as well is a mindfulness meditation session, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Mindfulness meditation.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Nishi, do you want to add something before we just directly get into it?
I also like the thing when she spoke that, every bad experience can actually help you to grow. So, which is what I usually follow, and I like it. So, like, everything happens for your own good, and which is the motto that I follow, and I like that. So,
Right.
Thank you. Thank you,
Right.
Nishi.
Off to you, Sumedha.
Yes. Yes. So we will begin with the meditation now. I hope you have, for the best experience, of course, your earphones on, and I hope you're sitting in a quiet place where you're undisturbed. So let's begin. Um, it yes. So close your eyes, everyone, and be in a comfortable position. Doesn't matter whether you're sitting or you're lying down. The important thing is your body is completely at comfort. During this meditation, we will learn to be mindful. We will try to find the point where you are completely aware of the now. Close your eyes and relax. Imagine a light from the universe right above you. This light is hovering over your head. It could be of any color. Visualize this light just touching the top of your head, giving you a tingling sensation. Now, the light is slowly and steadily spreading all over your body and to all your muscles and all your cells, relaxing them one at a time. It's like a wave of relaxation that's spreading over your face, your neck, your shoulders. Now, both your hands. It could also be one hand at a time. Slowly through your chest and your stomach. Now to your pelvis, towards your legs. Relaxing every muscle, every cell of your body. Now, till the tip of your toe, your feet. You're completely relaxed and present in this moment. Even if you're having any thoughts coming to your mind, that's okay. Visualize your thoughts to be clouds that are just coming in and going away with the wind. Visualize these thought clouds as if from being at a distance from them. Pay attention to a smell that you can feel in your environment. Be aware of it. What's the feel of it? Feel the brush of your clothing against your skin. Feel the chair that you're sitting on, or any furniture that you're sitting on, or the floor. Be aware of how it feels to your body. Feel the flow of blood through your veins, the gushing flow of your blood, the thumping of your heart. Be aware of your breath. Breathe in to the count of 4 and breathe out to the count of 6. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Be aware of the sounds in your environment. Any sounds. Be aware of the colors that you can see, even with your eyes closed. Or any kind of visual patterns. Even if you have any thoughts coming to your mind, they are just coming in like clouds and going away with the wind. Enjoy this present moment. Now you can slowly open your eyes whenever you're ready. Yes. Has everyone opened their eyes? Awesome.
That was very beautiful, Sumedha.
Yes. Thank you so much, Kelly, for having me. And I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you to all the participants who were able to make it. And thank you to the organizers, Nishi and Kelly. You guys are doing amazing work with All Live Counseling. And I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. And thank you so much for having me today. And thank you to all the participants. It was an amazing experience for me as well. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sumedha.
Sumedha.
Thank you.
Yes, it was great having you. We got like amazing piece of information about the role in spirituality in psychology and psychotherapy. It was amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for taking your time and interacting with us and collaborating with all counseling. Also, thank you to all the participants out there for taking their time and being such an amazing and interactive audience. It was great to have one and all of you. We want to do more of collaboration with many others, and we would also like you to participate with others too. I mean, with us more often. So thank you, Sudha. Thank you to all the participants. I hope that you all liked this webinar. And yes, we have this OLAB counseling website. Please do visit, book an appointment with us, and we are available for you always. Also, do like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yeah, over to you, Kelly.
Thank you for that, Nishi. Thank you everyone for coming. Sumedha, we appreciate your time to be here, taking time from your day and being here and speaking about spirituality and psychotherapy. It is a very difficult and a very complicated, probably to some, a very complicated topic, a concept, and you have made it very easy and very simple and very understandable to everyone. So we're very grateful. Also to all the audience, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your time out of your day. I know some of you probably are very busy. Thank you. And I hope that this session brings a little enlightenment in what is going on. You can see a little bit of positivity in all the negativity that is going on around us today, in the whole COVID situation and the lockdown. And I hope that some of you can probably practice a little bit of meditation that we learned. We might not be good, but we could follow a little bit. So thank you for sharing that experience with us, Medha. And I hope everyone is safe during this lockdown. So I hope you stay safe. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kelly, Nishi, and all the participants.
Thank you.
And all the compliments. Thank you. Yes.